Hello from your favorite Grasslands PR team. Today we're back with another reason why these overlooked and terrifying ecosystems are objectively the spookiest biome. I'm Allan.
I'm Rachel.
That was so bad. I'm sorry.
And I'm Nicole. You don't get a second chance. Sorry.
Oh. This is our Halloween episode.
Yeah.
Hey. That caught us both off guard.
It was a
very
choice. All right.
Sure was.
So today we are going to be doing a little group collaboration. We wanted to come up with something that is upsetting, disturbing, unsettling to talk about. And we arrived on... Rachel, would you like to describe our theme?
Yes. Body horror from the perspective of a plant.
Yes.
Ooh, it's good stuff. So we are going to dive into some, the nightmare within, if you are, for our plant buddies.
It's nice to develop your empathy toward other living creatures. And what better way than to put on the shoes/roots of a completely different kingdom?
Yes. For sure. I mean, and plants go through it sometimes. I gotta tell you, there's gonna be some pretty weird stuff we talk about probably today. We don't know each other's topics. Who would like to go first?
Me.
Oh, okay. That
All right.
was so fast.
Nicole?
I was waiting. I was like, oh, he's going to ask.
Nicole, take it away.
Okay. Thank you. Imagine
Okay.
Yes.
you're in southeast Kansas, beautiful prairie, and suddenly you feel in your roots an alarm call racing towards you from nearby plants.
Oh.
This alarm call floats across Kansas towards the north, but it starts early in the spring, maybe, towards the north side of Kansas, maybe early summer. And the alarm call is help. A new insect is biting me.
A new insect.
Yes, a new insect is biting me. This news spreads quickly through the mycorrhizal network along your roots, fungus and plant roots working together to try to protect each other, ultimately. And the nearby plants get a chance to kind of lock their doors, batten down the hatches, and, try to raise any defenses that they might have. And as this alarm call spreads north, it is actually following the route of a migrating leafhopper known as the aster leafhopper. They will be coming from the Gulf of Mexico, so these will go through Texas, through Oklahoma, through much of the prairie states, and their piercing mouth parts will be jabbing into the plants over and over again as they seek food.
Hold on. Leafhoppers are like the size of a grain of rice.
Jabbing over and over again. Death by many small knives.
What do you mean they're migrating from the Gulf of Mexico? That's crazy.
Yeah, I know.
This is like a multi-generational migration. It's gotta be.
They don't live that long.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah.
And they are very small.
Yeah.
But they do migrate. But it's much like monarchs where it's multi-generational.
Wild. Okay.
But as the insects move on, the plants start to grow again, and things are fine for a time. But in a couple weeks, the wildflowers in particular begin to sicken. Newly grown leaves are not as large as they should be and a bit pale in color. Their stems are unable to grow as high or as strong as they once did in order to compete with the tall grasses around them. They can't reach the sunlight they need, and their leaves aren't producing sugars like they should.
It's like everything a plant needs.
Yep. And as the illness progresses, some plants find themselves unable to flower, so now they can't reproduce.
Oh my God.
Those who can flower have their flowers warped. They are small and crinkled, or sometimes even green in color.
Instead of what would you expect is it for yellow or whites for these? Which species were we talking about?
So it affects a lot of different wildflowers,
Oh, sure,
actually.
okay.
So yeah, instead of beautiful purples and yellows and oranges, their flowers are now green. So
Right.
even if they are able to flower and they are able to create, the organs needed for reproduction, insects aren't seeing them as flowers anymore.
Nice.
Pretty significant.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
because it's all asters, right?
We'll get into it.
Oh,
We'll
okay.
get into
Okay.
it.
Okay.
Yeah.
You claimed we didn't know anything about these topics.
But she said it was aster leafhoppers.
Yeah.
That's true.
It was in the name. But yeah, some plants have it even worse still. Their flower petals aren't petals at all, but will grow as leaves on the flower head.
Weird.
Yeah,
Ugh.
I've seen these before. It's so weird.
it's so weird. But plants that can't handle the stress die, and those that manage to survive are changed permanently. There is no cure for this disease known as Astor's yellow. And the name is misleading. Allan asked, is it all asters? Yes, it does affect most asters, however, which is the sunflower family. But there are over 200 known species of plants that can be affected by Astor's yellow. And these are including some of our really common asters like coneflower, goldenrod, but also things like beggar ticks, marigolds, gladiolus, and a lot of food crops as well.
Oh.
Such as grapes, tomatoes, canola, carrots, lettuce, and rice. So a lot of really, really big, important crops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah. And a lot of the research around this focuses on food crops, unfortunately. But the things that we do know are that it's caused by a phytoplasma, which is a single-cell organism. And when it's infecting a plant, it's acting a lot like a bacterial infection, but it is not a bacteria. So if you look this up, a lot of places are just like, oh, it's a bacterial infection, but it's not. It is a phytoplasma, which is different. And it is carried by the leafhoppers, most commonly the aster leafhopper, as I mentioned. And these infected leafhoppers remain infected their entire life. It does take a couple weeks once they are infected for that to kind of multiply within their body. And then it settles in their saliva so that when they're biting plants, they are transmitting these phytoplasma into the actual phloem of the plant, which is the thing that's kind of acting like plant blood and moving sugars around, moving carbohydrates around. And once this process is affected, the plant struggles in a lot of ways. And it gets even darker than that, and I think because, like I said, these leafhoppers remain infected their entire life, and infected insects will actually live longer than those that are uninfected, and can have twice as many offspring.
What?
So wait, the infected leafhoppers have higher breeding success?
Yes, significantly higher breeding success.
That's
there was
creepy.
a study, I think it was 2014, that literally saw twice as many offspring from infected leafhoppers.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So it's really, it's not. It's like a mutualism between the leafhopper and this thing.
Yeah, leafhoppers
That's
are fine.
parasitic to these other plants. It's a pathogen to these other plants.
Yes. Yeah, it is a parasite to these plants that is using the leafhopper in a really interesting and really beneficial way to the leafhopper and to itself.
Weird.
Yeah. Yes.
I don't know what a phytoplasma is.
So the easiest way to think about it is literally just a single cell organism. It acts a lot like a virus.
Okay.
So it's infecting a host and then multiplying by itself. It doesn't really, as far as I could tell, at least this phytoplasma doesn't attack other cells necessarily. A lot of the damage that it causes is from it just existing within the phloem and kind of like blocking nutrient movement, which is really weird. But like I said, it's a question that I don't have a good answer to, because a lot of the research around this infection is based on like, oh, we have lower crop yields, and like, oh, these certain strains of like grapes, for example, or carrots was one that I saw a lot, do well and aren't really affected by the phytoplasma. But there weren't really in-depth studies on like why it's affecting the plants in this way. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately.
Weird.
Yeah, it's those weird ones where like their DNA isn't even in a nucleus. Like that's the easiest way I can describe it. They're really, really weird.
I'm choosing to think of it in my mind as like an amoeba adjacent type of organism.
Yeah, when you look at them like under a microscope, they have like, some of them are like ovally shape and some of them are like weird shapes that I didn't even know what they meant, so I had to look it up. And I didn't write it down. But they're just like, yeah, they're really, really weird looking.
One of those random little single-celled creatures that we never hear about.
Yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And they can't be eradicated from the plant after it's been infected?
Nope. Yeah. Once the plant is infected, there's no cure. Yeah. So if it's infecting like your crops or your garden, the best thing you can do is once you see these signs, so like yellowing leaves, weird flower heads, you just remove the plant. It needs to be cold. So, yeah.
What do you do when you see it in a landscape?
I mean, it's natural.
Yeah.
I saw one study looking at leafhoppers, I think in Texas, and they said about 3% of the wild populations of leafhoppers were found to have these phytoplasma within them.
Okay.
Some places that they looked at had up to like 10% of leafhoppers carrying this. So.
Wow.
That's, yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. I wonder if that number's growing because if they have a higher breeding success.
Yeah.
Well, does it pass to the offspring?
It doesn't pass to the offspring. So the offspring will have to feed on an infected plant, so another thing is the phytoplasma will, once it's infected a plant, weakens the plant's defenses, encouraging herbivory and encouraging these leafhoppers, even uninfected ones, to feed on this plant because they can tell that it's weakened. And so it's encouraging herbivory on already infected plants so that it can spread to new plants as well.
So that's like the other half of its life cycle. Like it gets picked up by new hosts at making a plant look vulnerable, I guess.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's really bizarre, just like all the different ways it's affecting the plant, the plant's reproductive success, like all these things that are super detrimental to the plant, but then also like encouraging its own survival as well.
Weird.
Because you don't want to kill your host plant, ideally, because then you die too. But sometimes a weaker plant won't be able to survive this kind of infection. So, yeah.
So from the plant's perspective, not only are you like incapable of producing your normal flowers or like creating sugars for yourself to eat, but you are going to be eaten more now because of this infection.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Dang.
It can also infect woody plants, which causes a condition known as witch's broom disease.
Ooh.
Okay, that's the same thing?
Yeah,
Crazy.
It's the same thing. There's a couple different, I think, phytoplasmas that can create this, but we know that this particular one does cause witch's broom disease, which is an uncontrolled growth of twigs leading to twisted, gnarled portions of like a shrub or a tree. And it makes me wonder, because it almost looks like a really messy bird nest from far away. I'm like, how many times have I looked up at a tree and I was like, oh, look at that like squirrel nest, but it was actually like witch's broom or something. So
that's like one of the few plant diseases I had heard of before. So like sometimes I look for stuff like witch's broom, but when you start looking for gnarled portions of trees and like weird like uncontrolled little branch tumors, it becomes it's like, am I even looking at the thing I think I'm looking at, or is this something completely different, or is it different because it's a different tree, or like I wouldn't have even thought that it was the same thing as what was happening to goldenrods out in a field.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know if I would recognize this or not. I don't know, but I'll have to look for it.
It's pretty gnarly.
If you see like a branch of a tree, there'll just be like a node on the tree that's just like twigs everywhere.
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
It interrupts the tree's ability to like space out the internodes between branches, and they just like explode with like uncontrolled growth. It's gnarly.
It was like a tree
Spooky.
tumor, but like twig mode.
Just like, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
They
Nice.
just don't know what's happening anymore. And, freak out basically. But yeah.
Well, it's very seasonally appropriate then.
My last little bit is a fun vocab word for you that I had never heard of, and I think it's really fun. It's called floaty.
Floaty.
Floaty. Phylloody, which is probably not how you thought that was spelled.
Floaty. No,
Yeah.
I wasn't even going to try. Yeah.
But yeah, this is flowers developing into leaves instead of petals, stamens, etc., because it can affect different parts of the flower. It can be partial, so like half the flower head, or it can be the full flower head, or like I said, only certain structures. And humans, because of course we did, have managed to breed roses that are called green roses that display phyllodes as a permanent mutation. So this rose can never like naturally reproduce as far as I can tell, because the flowers are leaves.
How interesting.
Weird.
You can just sort of, I mean, yeah, I guess it's kind of like a stem cell thing. You can just sort of reprogram it to do whatever.
Yeah.
Weird.
Super weird.
Okay, I have one question for you though.
Please.
You said this alarm call like sweeps across the landscape. How can they tell that plants are like bracing themselves for something that's migrating? Like how is that detected? I'm just curious.
I mean, I was using a little bit of hyperbole,
Okay.
but plants do communicate all the time through their roots, especially if they have fungus involved too, through these networks. And we do know that a healthy mycorrhizal network actually helps plants survive these attacks.
Yeah.
So they do better if there's a healthy fungus, soil ecosystem.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right
'cause
on.
I wonder if they're like aware, or if like they get a signal that like we're about to get chomped on a lot.
Oh yeah,
Can
that
they,
is. They can thicken their cell walls.
Yeah,
they can
yeah.
Start producing like different hormones. They can produce like toxins. Plants absolutely react to their neighbors being eaten. That is very well documented. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wild.
Wow.
Cool. Well, thanks, Nicole.
Okay, so
It's pretty spooky.
plants being turned into mutants, and then only to be fed upon by a new generation of parasitized leafhoppers. That's horrifying.
Yeah, that's pretty spooky.
Yeah, pretty
Thank you.
spooky.
Thank you. Thank you. I can go next.
Sure.
If you'd like to. Speaking of infections and spookiness and your body being taken over, we've talked quite a lot on this podcast about how the tyranny of trees isn't always relevant in a grassland ecosystem. Healthy grasslands do have tree populations. And some of our favorite trees, like cottonwoods here in this state, are certainly a sight that you would see out on the plains. May I ask you a question?
Yes.
What is the purpose of bark?
I mean, it's the cheap tree safe. Well, because I mean, on a tree, like you only got that one little like cambium layer. That's all your vital organs. So you gotta keep it safe.
Yeah. And that's why like girdling trees, going around them with like a cut, will kill them.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. So pretty terrible things can happen to a tree if the bark is compromised.
Yeah.
For example, if one of the beautiful longhorned beetles that we have, like a cottonwood borer or other such creatures, digs its way into the tree or out of the tree, exposing the vulnerable insides to all kinds of attacks, especially attacks of the spore nature. Now, spores are basically this. Mycologists are going to hate me for saying this. They're basically like little fungus eggs.
No, I mean that's
sure.
accurate.
Yeah, but like more like embryos.
Yeah.
And they go and they plop down and then they grow into mushrooms, right? I have seen trees where they might have like a weird, almost shelf-like mushroom growing off of it that has a woody texture. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
I have like a picture of an example here. It's pretty cool.
Nice.
And they look like they are weirdly a part of the tree to some extent.
Oh, yeah.
Which I found very interesting. Has anybody tried to rip these suckers off of a tree?
No.
I don't think I have. No, honestly. Yeah.
You can't is the
Oh, really?
like at least I can. I'm way too weak. These things are dense as rocks. Like they're almost as dense as the trees themselves. I've hung off of one and tried really hard to rip it off.
Nice.
I picked a small one thinking like I was like, oh, I'm gonna mount this on the wall. It's gonna be a cool decoration. Could not rip it from the tree. It's woody and tough and dense. And so my question was, is this one of those weird twig situations where the tree has somehow morphed into part fungus, or like what is going on with this thing and why is it woody? Some of these fungi just happen to end up woody. What it's doing to the tree is occurring far deeper and out of sight. So this type of fungus, there's a lot of different common names for it. Fungus groups are insane.
Yeah.
Sometimes broadly, they're a type of polypore. You might see them referred to as conchs or bracket fungi or shelf fungi. Basically, it's a pretty broad group of fungus, which some members of this group are actually mycorrhizal and will have a positive association with a tree. Sometimes they're the type of mycorrhizal where they don't even embed themselves into cell walls. They just form a nice little polite network where they all keep to themselves and they interface. Other members of this group have relationships with trees in a much more sinister fashion. And it all begins when the bark is compromised. So whether it's an insect boring its way in, whether it's the result of fire damage or wind damage, if some part of the tree is exposed and there are spores from these fungi in the area, they land on the tree and they begin to grow deeper and deeper into the center of the tree, where unlike other members of the group, which might feed on dead trees and help to decompose things that have passed away, this fungus is parasitic and feeds instead on the living tissue of the tree.
Gross. Okay.
Yeah. So this solid, chunky shelf of a fungus out there is a sign of infection. And the infections can look like a lot of things. The most common for some of these species is something that you call heart rot, where the fungus itself is growing into the heartwood of the tree, which is not the living tissue of the tree, but is certainly part of a living organism. First, the wood begins to grow soft as the fungus grows and dissolves it. And then it begins to completely hollow out as it feeds upon the heartwood of this tree. A healthy tree may be able to combat this. They might be able to compartmentalize it away. They might be able to grow like thicker structures around it, but that does not always work. The end result can be a literal hollowing out of both the trunk and the branches of the tree so that it's completely hollow on the inside.
Yeah, I've definitely seen felled trees like that where it's just like you have a full like just a tunnel through the center of the tree was. And
Yeah.
I guess I didn't assume that was a fungus doing that. I guess assumed it was just, I don't know, beetle activity or just, other decomposers just grinding it down. But
Yeah. And what's interesting too is that I've heard people talk about certain trees being more prone to cavities in the context of birds, right? So people are like, if you want birds in your backyard and you want cavity nesting birds, here's some certain trees that are susceptible to forming cavities. Did not make the connection that part of that process is this type of nonsense where it's like a tree gets a wound and is hollowed out by a fungus or something. And I also am so familiar with fungus growing on trees to be a sign of like dead, decaying tissue that I kind of assumed a lot of these funguses were like a sign that the tree is dying, like more of like it's a symptom that something else went wrong, not the mushroom is the thing doing it to the tree.
Right.
Yeah. And I guess in a lot of cases it is the fungus doing it to the tree, and some of these relationships are very, very strict. For example, the black locust tree, right, apparently has antifungal properties. Extracts of its bark, its wood, its leaves inhibit the growth of things like turkey tails in testing.
Okay.
There is one specific bracket fungus that actually can colonize this tree and only colonizes this tree. And it's one of these weird, crazy polypores that sucks out the heartwood.
Dang.
Now, I've only talked about it sucking out the heartwood. They can also form cankers, which is kind of like, imagine a canker sore on the inside of your mouth, but it's on a tree.
I hate it.
Yeah. It can also cause things like root rot. It really just depends on the fungus, and there's so much variety in these species. One of the things that makes these fungi so interesting too is that they are perennial. So a lot of mushrooms, we think of them being like a little mushroom that comes up and then it kind of wilts away or dissolves away. These things continue growing. So this is one of those mushrooms growing on a black locust. It makes its way into the tree because of the locust borer, which is a species of beetle that relies on black locusts and only infects black locusts, so that this mushroom can then get a little breach through the bark to form these things. So here's a cross section of this mushroom. And there are actually, if you look closely, it looks almost like bark, right?
Yeah. It's even got like tree rings.
Exactly. Because this is a perennial mushroom. When it first grows, it's a little bit fleshy, and then it solidifies woody. And every year, it grows a new spore part underneath that then solidifies and turns woody. And then it grows a new spore porous surface underneath that solidifies and grows woody. And so it continues growing year after year. And in that example, if you counted all those rings, it would be over 10 years worth of growth.
Dang. That's so fun. And how convenient for the mushroom that the locust is antimicrobial, so it can just, do its thing with or antifungal, so they can do its thing without any competition.
Yeah, no competition. And somehow this fungus is able to bypass all of that and just grow. So sometimes this can cause the tree to die. Sometimes it doesn't. Depending on the arborist you look at, they might tell you to just leave the tree because it can keep growing for 10 years. And if it's healthy, give it everything it needs because it might be able to stave off the infection. But regardless, this tree is then stuck with a permanent fixture on its body that has grown out of it, signifying the fact that its insides, whether it's the roots or the true heartwood of the plant itself, have been dissolved out from the inside.
Dang. That fungus is just like, we are growing together now.
Yeah.
That is creepy. It's basically decomposing them while they're alive.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
that's upsetting to think about.
pre-decomposing and then leaving them alive for a long time to continue that growth process. Yeah. I mean, to the point that like the outside of these things, if you're looking at the mushroom from the top down, it has the same character as the bark of the tree. Like whatever lichen are colonizing the tree itself, that type of thing, it grows onto the mushroom. It's there for life, a new buddy forever.
New buddy. Well, and that its filaments go so deeply that it's structurally part of the tree. Because I feel like I've seen like people put their dogs on shell fungus before and take a photo. Like they really support a lot of weight. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Like
crazy.
I hung on one and was like yanking hard. I was like, I'm gonna be so tough and musky. No. No. And I do think that somebody on that expedition did manage to break some off, like a real sort of Hagrid of the Forest type person.
Yeah.
And I mean, it just looked like the tree had its bark ripped off because this fungus growing out of the tree is,
it's like
embedded into it.
Integral to the thing now.
Yeah.
Gnarly.
Yikes. Well, that's disturbing. So.
Well, now you know.
Now I know that tree, every time I see one of those, I'm going to think about how that tree is just being devoured on the inside by its new roommate, and it can't even scream. All right.
We just can't hear it.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, you're right. Good point. All right. Well, I have one more tale of fibrous body horror for you.
Fibrous body horror.
And in this, we're going to turn to a case study that I think has all the hallmarks of a good horror movie, Parasite.
Nice.
It creeps in slowly. It eventually hijacks the systems of the host. It replaces the host. And finally turns the host against that which it holds dear.
Oh my God.
The pathogens that I'll be talking about in this section is one that aims to interrupt one of nature's most beloved co-evolved relationships, that between plant and pollinator.
No. Wait, that is so dark.
All right, the plant species that serves as host to this insidious interloper is it's from genus Xyris. These are plants that are they're sort of cousins of grasses. So they're in like order Poales, which is but they're not in this family of prairie tall grasses. They're cousins of them. They're often called the yellow-eyed grasses. Perhaps you may be more familiar with that. Or which is family Xyridaceae. So they're cousins, and these look a little different than tall grasses. They have a long thin stalk, but at the top they have a sort of a clumpy, spiky little cone, which then pops out one little yellow flower.
Nice.
Okay, hence the name yellow-eyed grasses. To find the species that we're talking about, we are going to make a trip to Guyana in South America. Here, there are many species of Xyris that thrive, but scientists noticed, when they were looking at these, that something weird was going on. Something else seemed to be thriving among the yellow-eyed grasses. Certain Guyanese species, like Xyris surinamensis and Xyris involucrata, are prime targets for a fungal parasite that has adapted specifically to exploit this genus of plant. That parasite is called Fusarium xyrophilum, obviously so named because of its affinity for Xyris plants. And they're actually part of like a really widespread genus of fungi, Fusarium. Like a lot of them are harmless. They grow on like plants and skin and things like that without problem. But they some of them are like pretty like opportunistic in infecting plants. And some of them actually do cause some serious economic losses. About like 80%, according to the study that I used as my source here, about 80% of plants have at least one disease that are attributable to a Fusarium species. This is 80% of cultivated plants.
Dang.
Yeah, like bananas are one in particular that's like, ooh, it's not good for bananas.
Okay.
But also affects like rice and cereal and grains and things like that. So this like fungus takes on a number of forms when it affects plants, right? It can look like a variety of things, species in this genus. It could be like a blight on a flower head. It could be like wilt in the leaves and yellowing of the leaves. It could be root rot, which we talked about. It can also produce mycotoxins in the grains, which then make the grains dangerous to consume for people.
Wonderful.
So, yeah, so it can be pretty bad, but with Fusarium xyrophilum, we see a different strategy being employed by this fungus. It's the only species in this genus to do things this way, and it spreads its spores in a, I want to say, disturbing fashion. So, Fusarium xyrophilum infection begins when the little filaments of the fungus start spreading into the plant tissues, and gradually they sterilize the flowering anatomy of the plant. Okay, so that little yellow flower on the yellow-eyed grass never comes out. The second stage of the infection is where it gets gross. Okay, this is when the fungus's own fruiting body emerges from the head of the plant.
No.
As a floral mimic.
No.
Yes.
No.
So you get a bright yellow fungal body.
Oh my gosh.
That sprouts from the top of the yellow-eyed grass.
That is diabolical.
It's
That's
evil, right?
crazy.
You produce this what they call a pseudoflower at the precise site of the bloom, and any number of arthropods are going to visit it expecting to find the actual bloom. Now, okay, here's what the weird thing is about this, though. Okay, the study found that the main type of arthropod that these plants attract anyway to their flowers are florivores. So they're not like a nectar producing plant.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah, they're like they're primarily wind pollinated.
Interesting.
So they create this pseudo flower that then these ants come and feed on, and all sorts of other insects also visit these little pseudo flowers, and they take away, instead of pollen grains on their body,
Spores.
they take away spores.
Nice.
Yeah.
I was going to ask if the fungus was emitting any like scents or anything, but I guess it doesn't need to if it's just bugs. Oh,
Okay, but no,
God.
you're okay. No. But this is where like it really like becomes a betrayal, right?
okay.
Okay. So they visit the false flower, they take away the fungal spores. The scientists who did this study also found that these pseudoflowers are emitting something called sesquiterpene, which is a fragrant compound. So they
Okay.
are putting out an attractant,
Nice.
okay, to other insects. And furthermore, they found that the pseudoflowers have fluorescent emissions in the light ranges that these arthropods are sensitive to.
Yeah.
So they're putting out like those, some of that targeting to insect eyeballs to try and bring them in as well. So
wow.
not only they're infecting the plant, they're taking it over, and then they're drawing in sort of, not prey, but like new people that arthropods to help spread to new hosts.
Unwitting collaborators.
Unwitting collaborators.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Wow.
it's fluorescent, so it's emitting light and not like UV. What is it? What's the word that's not fluorescence? Bouncing. It's not bouncing light, but it's
Refractive.
reflecting.
Yeah. They described it as having multiple pigments with fluorescent emissions in the light range of trichromatic vision, which would be
Oh,
a lot of
wow.
insects have trichroma vision. So. Yeah, so those two things working in tandem that are pulling in a lot of visitors that might not even really be interested in these flowers initially, but then they're like, "Oh, what's going on
It's
here?"
literally glowing. Like, ooh.
Yeah, strange. I'm drawn to the fungus.
Oh, that's so messed up. The fact that it like stopped the actual flower from blooming and then like replaced it in the same spot with this like little fungal fruiting body.
Yeah.
Very fun.
It's nasty. It's awful. It's pretty cool though.
It's very cool.
Absolutely.
This is actually a strategy that is observed in a few other species of fungus too, both in that same family, the ascomycetes. Another similar disease to this is called mummyberry disease.
Sorry, I shouldn't laugh. This is horrifying.
Yeah, mummies are scary, Rachel.
I'm sorry.
You did sound, it was like a strained laugh.
Mummyberry.
It's mummyberry, and it affects the blueberry plant.
No.
I know.
Okay.
What happens with these is that these infected blueberry plants, they get the ascomycota, the fungus in them, and it starts it invades the plant, but then sort of starts taking the systems over too. So the infected blueberry plants will start to reflect UV light like a healthy plant. The fungus also makes the leaves mimic the scent of blueberry flowers. Okay, and it puts out other bee-attracting volatiles to the infected flowers. So there's aromatic deceptions happening, both with the bee and the berry alike.
Wow.
And they call it mummyberry because eventually, like the fungus, it doesn't produce like a viable fruit. Like the fungus infects the fruit, and so eventually, like the skin of the blueberry sloughs off, and then it's just like this gray, desiccated little thing.
Ew.
It looks like it legitimately looks like it's mummified.
Dang.
Wow.
Yeah.
Does this have any negative impact on the insects, or are they just spreading spores around and they're actually fine?
They're just being bamboozled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dang.
They're like, my dear friend Blueberry,
Yes.
I've come to you again. And then they don't even know that it wasn't Blueberry.
Dang.
It was the parasite.
Yeah.
But
Wasting energy if nothing else, but
yeah.
Dang.
This is a side-by-side image here that we'll post in the show notes of the Xyris flowers. So here a healthy Xyris bloom, and there your Last of Us pseudoflowers.
Wait a minute, that's really cool.
Isn't it? It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's a good mimicry.
Yeah, it's like bright yellow and it has petals or petal-looking things kind of pulling off of them. Yeah.
And there's some mummy berries alongside some healthy blueberries. You don't want to eat any of those though, because if you were to cut open even the healthy ones, you'd still probably find a lot of fungus growing inside them. So, just take a pass on those. But yes, so there you have it. It's a fungus inserting itself into the tale as old as time love story between plant and pollinator, using their false flowers of mischief. But I guess I think it makes a lot of sense to like that some fungi would adapt that because I mean, in terms of like flowering plants took over the planet. So I mean and insects helped with that quite a bit. So like it makes a lot of sense. Get in on that action, right? Yeah. These let's use these bugs to promote ourselves. Get our own genes out there. So a pretty shrewd strategy, if not a little diabolical, as Rachel said.
I didn't. You said that.
You said diabolical. I said evil.
You said evil, yeah.
I'm not. I shouldn't attribute value judgments to these fungi. They're just doing their thing.
No, let's bring back anthropomorphization, actually. I'm pro, ever since reading Braiding Sweetgrass.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right.
Evil.
These fungi are evil.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, that was a fun episode. Thanks, guys. I enjoyed listening to all your stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you to our listeners for always listening and supporting our podcast. There's nothing spooky about you.
Aw, unless you want there to be.
Yeah.
Oh.
In which case, be spooky.
Yeah.
Be spooky.
And have a happy Halloween. All our info's in the show notes. If you have other examples of plant body horror, we'd love to hear them. Please tell us.
Did we want to mention Grassland_Groupies at any point
yeah,
in that outro?
This show is produced by the nonprofit GrasslandGroupies, dedicated to inspiring the conservation of grasslands, including these evil, evil fungus.
Correct.
Yes.
Yep.
Because they deserve to live too.
That's right. Yeah, and I think we have one more episode this year.
I don't remember.
I believe we do. A sort of a year in review situation.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. And what a year it has been. Bye, everybody.
Okay, bye.